It started with the sound of plastic clattering to the cold hospital floor, the IV pole tipping slightly as my body convulsed. My heart, that faithful drummer of decades, gave a terrifying pause before sputtering back into a broken rhythm. Then, silence. Not in the room. No. The room was filled with chaos. Beeping machines screamed in disapproval, nurses scrambled like wind-up toys, and my body was yanked back from the abyss. But in my mind, silence. A floating nothingness. A cool grayness. I had slipped into unconsciousness. The doctors called my daughter. She didn't come. I know what you're thinking. There must be a reason. Some tragic traffic jam or a phone on silent. But I knew my daughter. She got the call. And she didn't come. Instead, my son-in-law posted a picture. A picture of my hospital bed. My limp hand, oxygen tubes snaking out of my nose. And in the caption, 5 words that twisted through my ribs like a knife. Time makes strangers of blood. Let me take you back to the beginning. To understand how we arrived here, you need to know who we were before we became strangers in a hospital corridor. My name is Evelyn Brooks. I was once a high school English teacher in a small southern town where the summers smelled like honeysuckle and the winters never quite convinced anyone to wear real coats. I raised my daughter, Lena, alone. Her father, a poet with more charm than commitment, left when Lena was 3. I never saw him again. Maybe that was for the best. I poured everything into Lena. I worked nights, weekends, skipped vacations. Every book she wanted, I bought. Every recital, every parent-teacher conference. I was there front row. She was my everything, my pride, my moon. But love, especially a parent's love, doesn't always come across the way you think it will. Lena was brilliant, stubborn, wild, even as a child. She once refused to speak for a full week after I threw away a story she wrote about a vampire who refused to drink blood. I told her it was too dark. She told me I didn't understand her. She was right, I didn't. By the time she was 17, our home had turned into a silent battlefield. She wanted to study film. I said she needed something practical. She said I was controlling. I said I was protecting her. I was also, if I'm being honest, scared. Scared she'd chase art like her father and vanish into the wind the way he did. She left for New York at 18. Didn't even look back at the airport. She met Mason a year later. A musician with a crooked smile and the kind of Instagram following that could turn a head in Times Square. I met him once, at their wedding. I wore a navy dress and tried to hide how out of place I felt among the polished crowd with their microdosed cocktails and conversations about NFTs and fashion houses. Mason shook my hand soft as tissue paper. His eyes darted to his phone while I tried to make small talk. They never came home for holidays. Calls were sparse. Birthdays, a text. Happy B-Day, Mom! No punctuation, no voice. I convinced myself they were just busy. I told myself over and over that this was what letting go looked like. That children leave. Until the stroke. I was 63. It hit on a Tuesday while I was washing dishes. My right hand went slack, the plate fell, and suddenly my world tilted. Literally. The kitchen window spun. My knees buckled. The last thing I remember was the smell of lemon dish soap and the clatter of porcelain against tile. The EMTs said I was lucky the neighbor heard the crash. At the hospital, when I finally woke up 3 days later, the nurse told me gently, "We called your daughter. She said she couldn't come. Something about a trip." I nodded, tried not to cry. But then my nurse frowned and said, "Your son-in-law posted something about you." She showed me her phone. There it was, my life reduced to a clickbait tragedy, my unconscious body, my privacy, my vulnerability, all turned into performance. A story not about me but about him. That night something broke in me. I stared at the ceiling tiles above me, each one a perfect square. I thought of all the bedtime stories I read to Lena. The nights I rubbed her back while she cried over a lost friendship. The spaghetti nights. The dances in the kitchen. And I wondered, how did we become this? Subplot 1 started right there, in that hospital bed, the nurse, Sandra. 50, widowed, rough hands but a soft voice. She sat with me after her shift one night, peeling an orange, the scent mingling with antiseptic. My daughter hasn't spoken to me in 6 years, she said. After my husband died, I drank. Just a little. Enough to lose her. We talked for hours. Every night, her pain mirrored mine. And through our grief, something warm began to grow. A friendship, yes, but something deeper too. An understanding that some wounds don't heal, but they change you. Subplot 2 came from my neighbor, Jonah, an 11-year-old boy who used to mow my lawn for $5 and a popsicle. His mother visited the hospital. She brought handmade cards from Jonah. They were messy, full of glue and glitter. Dear Miss Brooks, one read. You're the nicest old person I know. Please don't die. I cried over that one. Because in a world where my own daughter didn't care if I lived, a child who barely knew me did. Recovery was hard. Speech therapy, physical therapy, and the worst, emotional therapy. Sandra helped. Jonah helped. But every time I saw Lina's face on social media, I felt that old twist in my chest. She was living, laughing, traveling, building her brand. I was no longer part of her narrative. One day, Sandra helped me draft a letter. Not for sympathy, not for guilt, but truth. It began like this: Lena, I used to believe that love was proven through sacrifice. I now understand that love must also include freedom, honesty, and forgiveness. I failed at some of those, but you did too. If you ever wish to talk, I'll be here, not waiting. Just open. I sent it. No response. Weeks passed. Then months. Until one night I received a message from Mason, short, blunt. She read your letter. She cried. But she's not ready. Please stop trying. She's doing better now. And that was it. Now, if this were a movie, this is the part where she would come running into the hospital, crying, hugging me, begging for forgiveness. But life isn't a movie. Instead, I let her go. And something strange happened. When I stopped chasing the version of love I thought I needed from her, I made room for others. Jonah's mom invited me for dinner every Friday. Sandra helped me start a book club for stroke survivors. We meet every Wednesday in the library conference room. We laugh. We cry. We heal. Months later, I saw another post from Mason. A video, Lena giving a TED talk about boundaries. She mentioned me vaguely. Said, sometimes loving yourself means letting go of those who loved you the wrong way. It stung. But I understood. We each hold a different version of the past. In hers, I was controlling. In mine, I was protective. Maybe both were true. Here's the lesson. If you're looking for one, you can give someone your heart, your years, your whole soul, and they might still walk away. That doesn't mean your love was worthless. It means it was real. Love isn't a transaction. It's a gift. And gifts can be accepted or declined. When I lost consciousness, I woke up to loss. But I also woke up to truth, to clarity, to the strange freedom that comes when you stop begging for doors to open and start planting gardens under your feet. I may never hold my daughter again, but every Wednesday I hold a book surrounded by people who stayed, who chose to. And that, in the end, is enough, because sometimes strangers love you better than blood. And that's okay.